My name is Corbin, and this is my 2011 E92 M3 with 148,000 miles. Yeah, I know she might look good to the eyes, but she's got stuff wrong with her. I have had my M3 for a little over 6 months now, and well, let's kind of talk about the good and the bad about this car. Starting off, let's go to this car's favorite spot for problems, under the hood. To start things off, with the bad about this car, I have leaking valve cover gaskets, I have a bad water pump, the pulley is bad, and well, there's probably other stuff that I'm not even able to see. When I first got this car 6 months ago, the first thing I did was rod bearings, which cost me $2,100, but that's okay because once that part is done, I don't really have to worry about too much more. And usually valve cover gaskets, when they're leaking, it doesn't really cause any concern to me because usually they leak very little at a time, but this one is starting to get a lot of buildup and it's kind of scary. But honestly, that's about it when it comes to mechanical problems with this car. Except for one thing. There's a pretty big rock chip in the front bumper, which was caused when I was driving home after I bought this car. And well, if you know anything about frozen cars, or matte cars just in general, getting a paint correction on these cars requires a lot more painting of different panels than just a singular one, because you can never perfect what the paint looks like beforehand. But what we're gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna go ahead and drive to a different spot and tell you guys a little bit about the personal experiences, maintenance cost, drivability of the M3. That way you guys get a little more insight about this car. So without further ado, let's get some driving clips of this car. Now here we're going to be talking more about my personal experiences with the car, like what it's like, the drivability, and like I said, just everything overall about the car since I've owned it 6 months ago. Ever since I bought the car 6 months ago, I haven't had any problems whatsoever other than the leaking valve cover gaskets that were already leaking when I bought the car. But it was that, and then when I looked at the service records, there was something about, I believe it was the fuel pump. It said something about failure, and obviously failure is not a good thing to hear when it comes to cars, and especially a fuel pump. But what's weird is I've never had any indications of my fuel pump failing on me. Literally nothing that indicates a bad fuel pump has been happening with me, and I don't know if it's true or not. I think one of these days I'm just gonna have to tear the car down and check it myself. But other than that, I haven't really ran into any problems. When I did take the car to get the rod bearings done, they did tell me that the water pump needs to be serviced here soon. I need to do that. That's definitely going to be on the bucket list. But other than that, water pump, valve cover gaskets, and the pulley system, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I just want to upgrade it just because having better pulleys in this car means that everything functions a lot more properly, and it's just overall a better time. Next we have monthly costs of the car. I get this question a lot. How much am I paying like a month to maintain this car? And well, honestly, ever since I bought the car, the rod bearings, that was it. Hasn't really been any monthly costs other than gas, which is another thing I'll get to here in a second. But monthly, not really much, to be honest. I did the rod bearings, and that was 6 months ago. The only other time I've ever really spent money on this car mechanical wise is an oil change that I did like 2 weeks ago, and that costed me 135 bucks. It came with the new filter, new gaskets, and then all the oil I'll need. That was about it. I mean, no, there's no other mechanical stuff I've done other than all the mods I've done, all the carbon fiber. There hasn't been anything to really spend money on. That leads us to gas. Gas every single month is definitely steep, 100% steep. I pay probably close to $60 every 3 days with this car. I know that sounds like a lot, and I mean it is, but I did come from a Z, and that was no better gas mileage. And honestly, the tanks are about the same size, so I'm just used to it. And then the last thing is handling and drivability of this car. A lot of people usually, once you get into like the 100 to 120,000 mile range, you start to get a different feel for the car. Not me. I mean, I don't I bought the car when it had 146,000 miles, so I never really knew what it felt like before this, but this car drives perfectly. And I am not just saying that. This car literally it does not feel like any car I've ever driven. When it comes to comfortability on the road, it handles so good. With it being high mileage, I really don't see how it can really get much better than this, honestly. This car actually feels amazing. And not to mention, I mean, that got me thinking, the interior is mint on this car as well. I forgot to mention that earlier. The interior it's amazing. It really is awesome. Nobody ever sat in the back seat, so those are perfectly fine. And then both of the front seats are in literally pristine condition. But back to what I was saying. I am not kidding when I say that this car is literally a driver's car. This car is perfect in every single way. And not only that, it really doesn't have much problems once you do the throttle actuators and the rod bearings. A lot of people make this motor seem so bad and make this whole platform seem so bad, but this car I would recommend to every single person that wants a Beamer and doesn't want to drop, you know, $30,000 to $40,000 on an F80. This car is seriously amazing, and you get the M title. If you like M cars and you want an M car, this M3, I got it for 20 grand. And you really can do a lot to these cars, and there's a lot of companies that will support you when it comes to these kinds of cars, and I seriously would not recommend any other car than the E92 M3. So we've officially made it back home, and well, if you are interested in buying one of these cars and it has higher mileage, I say just do it, because I have not had one problem different than a lower mileage one, and this car still drives like an absolute monster. If I had a tip, the only thing I would say is just do all of the preventable maintenance straight away, even if you know it's been done, just because it is going to save you a lot of time. If the owner that you buy it from says the rod bearings have been done, the throttle actuators have been done, I suggest still just doing them, because you can never take the word for it unless it's on the record. And the best part about these kinds of cars is that in the future, I 100% believe that they will be collector cars with the right spec. Because in my opinion, this is definitely one of the best looking BMWs, especially in the M3 generations. And I think the timeless design is going to make it that collector piece. So like I was saying, if you want to get one of these cars, if this is your dream car and you can afford it, I would not wait any longer than to get it right now, because I can only see the value of these cars going up, and these cars are absolutely amazing. I said it before and I'm gonna say it again, if it has higher mileage and that's the only thing you're scared about, I really wouldn't worry about it. Obviously, just know the higher the mileage does get, the more likely problems will come up. But as of right now, I have not enjoyed any car more than this, even with it being high mileage. But as somebody that has had this car for 6 months with 148,000 miles on it, I would say this car is still the perfect car. I'll see you guys next time. Love you guys.